Welcome back, everybody. Now I'm wrapping up a few days of rest and relaxation before I start the 2023 grind. I don't have any product reviews for you today, but I do have some viewer questions and answers, so let's get started. Brad Asked TV asked the first question, asking if I have anything special planned as far as my next milestone for subscribers, whether it be 750,000 or a million, and the answer is no, I don't. It's funny, I actually had special videos for my 100th video. I did something for my 100,000 subscriber, but I'm not really worried about the subscriber count. I'm just trying to crank out as much good content as I can, as fast as I can. But on the other hand, maybe when that milestone gets a little closer, I might change my mind. But at this point, I don't have anything planned. All right, here's one that asks, do you still use your bed jet? I've been thinking about getting one, but I'm still on the fence. I'm gonna say the bed jet is still one of my favorite items of all time. I use it every single day. Probably a couple hours a day at least. So if you haven't got one, I do recommend it because it's one of my favorite items of all time. This person wants to know how the Forever Pan is doing after 8 months. I'm thinking about buying the Pro set for my wife's and I's anniversary. Well, as you may remember, I actually messed up my Forever Pan when I first tested out, doing one of their demonstrations, by the way, but I got a replacement pan. I've been taking care of that one. It's held up quite well. It's my only 8-inch pan that I use, so I use it several times a week, and it's holding up very well. RB93 asked if I still use the mini ovens, if I've used them regularly, or if they're just kind of the flavor of the month. I do still use them. Right now I use the Brava, the Tovala, and the Ninja Foodie oven. I gave away some of my older ones because I kind of need to make room for the new ones, but I still use those three. The Ninja I use on a regular basis at my main house, and the Tovala and the Brava I kind of alternate at my apartment. I would say if I had to choose between those three right now, it'd be tough because I really like features of all of them, but the Ninja Foodie oven is the one I've used the most. This person asked, what is Bailey's favorite item you reviewed? How old is Bailey, and what other pets do you have? You know, I've reviewed a few pet toys over the years, but Bailey seems to only like tennis balls. Although she does get the BarkBox still. I still subscribe to it after all this time, and she loves the BarkBox. Bailey turns 8 years old this month in January. My other dog, Elle, is 14. And my daughter has a cat that I think is also 8 years old. This person asked, do you prefer doing product reviews or tasting reviews? I certainly prefer doing product reviews, but I like to break things up with the tasting reviews. Also because of the fact that I can have someone do it with me. I can bounce some banter off someone else. It's kind of fun, breaks things up, but I definitely prefer doing product reviews. Dawson asked if there's any items that I had high hopes for that I was disappointed in, or low expectations for that I was surprised about. Now, I probably a lot in that category. The first things that come to mind as far as something I had high hopes for that I was very disappointed in was the cop cam. I remember when I first got that one, I saw the commercial for it. I was like, this is gonna be a cool item. And then I used it. It was a complete disaster. I think it was my worst part of the year that year. I was not excited about the cop cam after I tried it out. I would say a recent one as far as the low expectations for that I was surprised about will be the Tovala oven. Speaking of ovens, the marketing of that one is so bad I really didn't understand what it was, but the fact that you can scan any barcodes, it kind of knows how to cook everything, it'll steam the items. It's way better than they really marketed it being. I think they spend so much time on their food service, they actually don't even give their own oven much credit. There's been a lot of kitchen knives I've been disappointed in, and too many to mention here. But there's been quite a few of those that I kind of thought would be cool, and they weren't. I had a few people ask, such as this one says, are you going to do any more hotel reviews, like the really good or bad ones? I think they're entertaining. I'll probably do a few more. I'm kind of looking for some unusual type hotels around Vegas. I'm probably gonna do some more at some point. I kind of have to find the right place. So I've got a few ideas, but nothing in the works at the moment. This person's asking about the ringing in my ears, if I affected any of my filming process. If you saw my original video, you might recall that my ear ringing has been around most of my life, and it really hasn't affected me because I've had it so long. It's normal to me. In a way, I'm kind of fortunate that my ears have been ringing my entire life rather than half my life. Because I think if I could remember life before that, I'd probably be upset. But as is, that's what's normal to me. Now, Just Jesse asked a great question about something that I reviewed that really didn't catch on and is no longer made. Now, there's several of those in that category. The first thing that comes to mind would be the atomic beam headlamp. For some reason, people just didn't seem to be excited about that one, but I thought it was pretty good. And honestly, if you go way back early in my channel, a lot of people are putting out those spin scrubbers, and I actually kind of liked them, like the Turbo Scrub, the Hurricane Spin Scrubber. Those aren't made anymore. I actually wanted to use one the other day, and all of their batteries are dead, and the ones I have 4 of them. There's some small companies still making those, but I'm surprised that someone big hasn't continued to make them because I thought they were very useful. There are quite a few products that I reviewed over the years that I still use that are no longer being made. A few people asked about why I have 2 different locations. This person said, I'd love to know the backstory behind filming in 2 different kitchens. Did you get a new place? I have an apartment that I film at sometimes, and I have my house where I live at that I film at sometimes. I just want to have more options. Sometimes there's people around, there's pets at my house. It's not always easy to film there, so it's just nice to have more options. This person asks, on average, how long does a review start to finish take you? So filming and then editing. Now, I would say that if it's one product, I aim for 3 days. That's usually 2 days of filming so I can do some research, do my first round of tests, kind of go back and rethink it, second day of filming, and then editing. That's the idea. Doesn't always work out that way. If it's a collection of gadgets, I give myself up to a week for those. So when you see something like 5 products in one video, I give myself a week. On the other hand, sometimes it takes a lot longer than that. The Brava, I think, took me a month to do that one. And on the short end of it, if I'm lucky, I'll get something like the $200 pen that took me 1 afternoon. So it really varies, but my average is 3 days for one video. Antonio Martinez asked what else I do for a living besides YouTube. This is it. I do this and I do my website, and that's it. I feel very fortunate to be able to do YouTube for a living, so I don't take it for granted, but this is it. This is all I do. This person asked, what are some unusual skills you've picked up while doing reviews that most people don't have? I think I'm slowly getting a knack for how to test products out that kind of appeals to a wide audience. Like when I'm reviewing pans, there's certain things that stick better. When I'm doing flashlights, I kind of have an idea of what lights up a certain area. There is kind of a skill set for reviewing a lot of these products. I don't think it translates to anything else. If I ever had to get another job, I would be in big trouble because I don't think it translates. I would say non-stick pans would be the one that I probably developed the most of a skill set on. Not only how to test them, but also how to take care of them long term. Because non-stick pans are kind of touchy, but you really can't make them last if you know how to take care of them, and that's something I've definitely figured out how to do. This person asks, what genre of items, ideas, or technology have you wanted to function as per their marketing materials that hasn't lived up to the potential yet? I would say most as seen on TV products are the most likely to fall in that category. I would maybe of the 1,000 products I reviewed, probably 100 of them would fall in that category. The first one that come to mind would be the ID Police. I had high hopes for that one, utter failure. The Airworld Crisper, high hopes for that, utter failure. Things like the folding keyboard a few years back, I was very disappointed in that. The laser keyboard, I was very disappointed in. Laser scissors, there's a lot of them. Probably 10% of everything I review, I would say, is a huge letdown. This person asked, what is the eldest product on my channel that I reviewed that I still currently use? Let me open up my spreadsheet of my products here. Now, I would say this is kind of an asterisk on this one. Number 5, the tack light, was the 5th product I ever reviewed. I still use a tack light, but the one I originally reviewed, I broke from extensive over testing. So I think I did some drop tests, some water tests, it didn't hold up. I ended up getting another tack light, and I still use that one. Now, of the products that I originally reviewed that I didn't break, number 15, the Comfort Click belt. I still use that on occasion, although it's not my main belt anymore. It's kind of like I use it as a backup belt, but I still use that one in the rotation. And then number 30, Hot Hands, which is still in my rotation for oven mitts. So I would say those 3 are probably the ones I use the most. Now, this person asked, if you wanted to avoid Amazon, where do you recommend to shop? What I usually do is go direct to the vendor's official website. I try to order directly from the companies. I do that nowadays because I don't like having the middleman on Amazon. Sometimes the listings are not accurate, or you get kind of shady vendors on there. I did a whole video on shady vendors. I sometimes use Walmart Plus. I think that's pretty good, but it has some of the same problems Amazon does. And then I also have started adding some products to my own store that you can find on Amazon, where I've eliminated the middleman completely. Speaking of pans, another person wants to know how the Granite Stone pan is doing. I'm not sure if you're talking about the Pro or the original. The original was marketed as the Granite Rock, but they changed the name to Granite Stone. The original one I reviewed is kind of at the end of its life. It's looking kind of ragged these days. They'll still do occasionally use it. The Granite Stone Pro, it's looking really good. It's got many years of life left, I believe in it. But once again, the key to these pans is taking care of them, which not everybody wants to do. Gabriel's Logic asks, how do you continue to stay so motivated making videos? I think the fact that I had to work so hard when I was younger and I had a bunch of crappy jobs I didn't like, I feel grateful to be able to do this. So if I ever start losing my motivation, all I have to do is look back to when I was younger and had jobs I hated, and I have to be grateful for what I do have. So I'm grateful to be able to do this. That's how I stay motivated. This person asks, what the first as seen on TV product you can remember? Was it just like they showed on the ad, or was it a junker? Now it depends on how you interpret that question, how I answer it. The first as seen on TV product I ever remember was when I was a kid. I remember Mr. Microphone. That commercial was awesome. The guy was like flirting with girls in his car. Now, I didn't review that one, obviously. The first product I ever wrote about was the wax vac, but I didn't actually review it. I guess the first product I reviewed on my channel was the handy heater, which was kind of a slightly overhyped heater that was decent, but not amazing. And I didn't really continue to use it that much. This person asked what product I think is way overpriced that I reviewed besides the $300 toaster. The first things that come to mind are these Ampere glasses that I've got, which I've started to really like. I've used them a lot more since I did my review, but they're 300 bucks. Also the Brava, that was anywhere from 13 to 1700. I like that one as well, but I can't see why it costs that much. So the first thing I can think of, Brava and the Ampere Dust glasses. Here's a couple of related questions. The first one says, you do so much shopping, do you have a way for pay for things to get the most points for your credit card? Do you think that using an American Express card would be the best way to pay for things for the warranty issue or returns? Now, I've got to say, I'm a big fan of American Express. I use it for almost everything I pay for. It might seem expensive, but you get Uber credits, you get airline credits, you get Walmart Plus for free. I think there's a streaming service you get for free. You get discounts on Dropbox, on Best Buy. If you know how to use it right, you can actually get your money back and then some. Not only that, but you also get travel points, so I'm a huge fan of American Express. This is an interesting question I want to touch on. It says, have you ever done a positive review, but after continued to use it, realized you got it wrong and vice versa? I will say that I've had a lot of negative feedback about the Power XL Duo Nutra Sealer that I reviewed last year. I had a pretty positive experience about it, but almost everybody I've heard from has been universally negative. I can't really explain that because I had a pretty good experience with it, but a lot of people don't like that one, so I'm not really sure. But for whatever reason, my experience was not normal. Most people seem to not like it. This person asked if I've always lived in Las Vegas. I have not. I moved there on June 15th, 1994, when I just turned 26 years old, which means this year in June will be 29 years right after I turn 55. So I've been there for 29 years. My final question asks if I have any goals for 2023. I would say my goal for this channel would be to try to put out close to 120 videos for the year, which is far more than I've done the last few years. I think I can do that without sacrificing quality, but I guess we'll see by the end of the year. But that's all I've got. I'll be back in another few days with another product review. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.